How to learn from a podcast. I'm Nate. I'm the FitFutureMD. Upload every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Pick up that free copy of the nutrition and workout guide in the description below. I'm currently down 40 pounds. And if you're interested in how I did that, check out that nutrition and workout guide in the description below. I'm the owner of Ensorsale. Ensorsale is family. Together we will rise up from humble beginnings and inspire others all over the world with the messages on our t-shirts. Wear your inspiration today, right? And if you have an inspirational message, leave it in the comments below. Use code FitFutureMD for 20% off at Ensorsale.com. Like I say, we're going to be, coming up with some new drops here soon, so stay tuned for that as well. All right, so podcast. Everybody's saying start a podcast, do a podcast, be a podcast. If you have a business, you should definitely start a podcast. Well, my thing is, how do you learn from a podcast, right? Well, if you're a person like me, I work in a science lab, right? Like I'm a chemist, right? So, a lot of people that do that, they listen to music, that kind of thing. Well, what do? I listen to podcasts, right? I listen to things that'll help me get knowledge that can help me in the future and make me rise up from humble beginnings, right? So, how do you learn from these podcasts, right? So, number one, identify what you're trying to learn. Identify what you're trying to learn, right? Because the truth is, you just don't want to go blindly listening to podcasts, right? Like, you want to have a purpose. It's like you don't go into the library in the nonfiction section, looking, just randomly looking for stuff to learn, right? You go in there looking for specific tasks to learn, right? Specific things, right? So for me, how to create a brand or branding would be a beneficial podcast for me. Like, what strategies are people using to create podcasts, right? Or not podcasts, to create brands, right? What strategy are people using to create brands, right? Because that's what I want to do. I'm creating Ensorsale, which is a brand, which, helps you inspire others to move up in life, to work hard and to use the right leverage to, continuously learn and improve their life, right? So that's Ensorsale. And so I would listen to a podcast about that, right? So what do you do so I've identified that I want to learn how to brand, right? So what am I going to do? I'm going to go search and find people. I'm going to go search and find people that are successful at creating a brand and see if they have a podcast or see if they have something that I can learn from. So an example of this would be a Gary V or a Grant Cardone or a Brad Lee or a Ed Milet, right? So, but basically, Gary V used his alcoholism to grow a brand, right? He used something that he knew a lot about, right? He grew up in a liquor store, right? So he started making videos about wine, right? And that grew a brand for him, his own personal brand, right? But it also, was able to get more sales to his father's liquor store, right? So that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? Like I'm basically giving the knowledge that I know to help others that are like me. Number one, get healthy, stay healthy, and inspire others to be healthy, right? Because I'm down 40 pounds, and I'm going all the way down to 250 again, right? And we're gonna see what we look like, and we might bulk again, right? So this time we go from 315. Right now we're sitting in the 260s. So we're doing great, right? And so we want to get healthy, stay healthy. Like we'll say when you go to the doctor and you get blood, like you want all your blood work to come back good, right? And most Americans are not like that right now, right? Most Americans are, I think it's almost 70% of us now are overweight and 50% are obese, right? And even the wave of people in the fitness industry has not changed that, right? So we got to find a way to do something to stay fit forever, right? To get healthy and stay there forever. And that's what I've come up with. And that's what I share in the nutrition and workout guide in the description below, right? But basically, Gary Vee basically just used his alcoholism, his love for wine to grow a brand, so that's basically what I'm doing. I'm using what I'm doing, to grow a brand, the brand FitFutureMD and the brand Ensorsale, right? Right. So I would find someone like a Gary Vee to listen to, right? So then what I do is I try to consume everything that they have, especially anything current, right? Because especially social media, like I'm doing, right? Social media changes a lot. The algorithms changes a lot, but, branding kind of stays the same, but the strategies to do that change, right? So, so I'm going to listen to that stuff all the way through, right? I'm going to decide if that person's information is good or not, right? So like, there are individuals out there that don't really give good advice, right? And it may not be good advice for where you're at, right? So so Gary Vee talks to, CEOs of multi-million-dollar companies. He may not be talking to somebody that has a side business, right? Because a side business person is going to, be different in their strategy than, someone that, has a big brand and wants to keep everything on brand. Like those strategies are going to be different, right? Right now I'm the side strategy, right? I'm growing the personal brand, and inspiring others, to do better, right? To get healthy, stay healthy, mentally, physically, and emotionally healthy, right? So for me, like some podcasts talking about how to open an LLC, how to structure my business. Like I don't need to know any of that stuff, right? I already have a master's in business. Like, so I'm not going to really, I'm not going to go back and take the time to write notes out on stuff like that, right? But if I find that information good, like if I find something that's really good on branding, I am absolutely going to, later, say when I get off work, or, some people, they'll just try to jot it down right there, right? So take the notes out on their phone and note it out right there. I've also used Google Docs, to do that in the past, right? But you can listen to those podcasts at the gym, all kind. But you're literally just listening for good information. When you find it, that's when you go back to that information later and write out those notes. So not only have you listened to it twice, but then you've written it out. So you're going to know that knowledge from a podcast, right? So, you've gotten the podcast, you figured out who you wanted to follow, you listened to their stuff, you found out it was good, you took notes on it. The only last step is to implement the information, right? And test it out. So if Gary Vee tells you to post 3 times a day and do that for 6 months, and you do it for 6 months and it doesn't work, you know that he's full of shit, all right? But if you do it for 6 months and all of a sudden you got 1 million followers, you knew he was the man, right? So, it just depends on, what you're trying to do, right? So you try out that new information. If the new information works, great. If it doesn't, you go right back to the podcast. Go try to find something else, another person, right? Because, that's really the lean, what I call the lean business model, or the lean business strategy, right? And I've talked about that in a previous video, right? Where you're doing it with no debt. Social media is basically giving you a medium where, you can grow a following and you can grow and help people all over the world. So you don't have to just be in your local area, but you can also advertise to your local area through social media as well. So, But you try that new information. If it doesn't work, you go back to the drawing board. You go find somebody else to follow, right? The biggest thing is that you don't go, all right, I'm gonna listen to Grant Cardone, I'm gonna listen to Gary Vee, I'm gonna listen to Alex Hormozy, and then you try to do all three of their strategies at one time. Like, it's gonna pull you in too many directions, especially as a small business owner that doesn't have a lot of time. Like, so for me, I have maybe 3 to 4 hours a week of social media time outside of working 40 hours a week, outside of making t-shirts, stuff like that. So, it's very difficult. You have to do one strategy, right? You have to double down on that one strategy. And, this is just, you may be trying to learn something else from a podcast, right? You may be trying to learn, how to bake. You may be trying to learn whatever, right? But if you figure out that, hey, this person, really can, I can really use their stuff. For instance, like somebody that's trying to bake, right? If they go, oh, I, pinch of salt here, sprinkle of this here, like, I'm not going to be able to learn how to cook like that, right? I need to know, oh, this is a tablespoon, this is a teaspoon, this is a cup, whatever, right? So if you find somebody like that, you're not going to continue listening to them. You're not going to start writing their stuff down. You're going to go move on to a different person that cooks, right? So the same thing with me with branding, right? If I can't learn from Grant Cardone, I'll go to Gary Vee. If I can't go to Gary Vee, I'll learn from Alex Hormozy. If I can't learn from Alex Hormozy, I'll go to Brad Lee. I can do all kinds of stuff, right? I can learn from everybody. But if I find something good, Patrick Bet-David's a good one, right? So Valuetainment, so if you listen to all those podcasts and you get something out of those podcasts, don't just blindly listen to podcasts for entertainment, right? You're not doing it for entertainment. You're doing it to learn, and you want to learn something specific, whatever you're trying to learn, right? So this is how I learn from podcasts, right? Obviously, I'm here doing the Gary Vee model where I do a subject, right? And I kind of put in Alex Hormozy stuff too, because he does a subject like this, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this down into shorts and Instagram. So, because right now, that stuff is what's popping off. The hour-long videos, the 10-minute videos, that stuff's not really popping. But it makes it a lot easier to make those shorts to send out to the world, right? And I'm doing, I do the YouTube Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I try to upload it at 5 a.m. because I know, a lot of the people that follow me want to be on that treadmill by 5 a.m., right? I'm personally on the treadmill at, between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. So, if somebody drops something at that time, I'm definitely going to be watching it, right? If somebody drops their podcast at that time, I'm going to be watching it. So that's what I'm trying to do for you, right? So, if you're checking this out, thank you, obviously, for following along. Like, comment, subscribe. Shop at Ensorsale.com. Wear your inspiration today, right? Comment down below and tell me what inspires you. Tell me what inspirational message you would love to see on a t-shirt. And, I appreciate you following along. Hope you learned from this podcast. I'm Nate. I'm the Fit Future MD, and we'll see you next time. Peace.